Hi, YouTube. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Not too bad. I was so happy the power came back on 6 o'clock this morning. I was thrilled to death. I mean, I had water stored up for like washing and drinking and that type of stuff, but we were afraid we were going to have to hook our freezer and our refrigerator up to batteries and then uh, charge the batteries with one of the vehicles until we got well, we've got a few generators, but till we got them set up or whatever, just for the quick way. But we didn't have to do that. It came back on this morning and everything stayed cold and frozen, and especially outside. It is cold and frozen. It was 26 degrees last night. Plus, I'm not sure. We got about probably close to about 6 inches of snow, but it was so heavy, gigantic, heavy flakes, and broke the power lines, evidently. So the power kept going on and off. Was the funniest thing. I was even laughing to myself yesterday and today. I'll tell you what happened in a minute here. I could hardly believe it, but this will just kind of give you an insight on the way Doug's brain works. Uh, okay, just a sec. If you're interested, this just blew me away. It was like one of the funniest things I've seen or heard lately. An acquaintance of his, ours, wanted to see if he could sell something to us or whatever. He's going through some really hard times, uh, liver transplant, and you know, younger guy, the age of our kids. So we've known him for a long time, decades, and so Doug and him were talking. They were outside for a while. Doug was sitting on the porch, and then his feet were getting cold, so they came in. And this guy, Jeremy, was sitting on, I have couple of oak stools, backed stools that are, he moved the pad so he wouldn't get it dirty with his work clothes. He was sitting there, and they were in the kitchen. They were talking, and I had walked by, and the edge of my slipper caught on the floor where it transitions onto another part of the flooring. Well, it just caught, and I went flying, like I caught myself, but like I stumbled a few steps. Just as quick as I stumbled, Doug looked at Jeremy and he goes, "Did you trip her?" The look on it scared him. And then he looked at me like, is she gonna turn on me? Like, if I had said yes, what would Doug have done? The whole thing, it had me cracking up so bad because he forgets when people um do things like when he owes people money. And he is one of them that has a tendency to forget and then wants more out of a person. So I don't even really talk to him. If Doug isn't here, like last time he was here, uh, Doug did show up, but I'm not gonna. I used to let him in and talk to him even if Doug wasn't here because I babysat his kids a couple times in the past for free. It's like no, no more being used by this person. Like putting glass in a car for him he wanted done and him forgetting to pay for it. That because he went through all this physical stuff, but he doesn't reflect on his life. He's not one of those who does deep inner searching of so it just the whole thing. Did you trip her? It cracked me up. I about died right there from laughter. It was so good. That look on his face. He was scared. He's been around like bikers and whatever in some pretty rough situations in his life, so he didn't know what to expect right there for a second, you know? That was humorous. So, cheers, everybody. When I say LOL, this one, I mean, when you're sitting alone and you think of something and it actually makes you laugh, that's how funny that was. You'd guess you'd have to have been there, but that made my day. That was awesome. Did you trip her? I couldn't hardly even believe it. I still can't, you know. First off, who would say that? He knew Jeremy didn't trip me, you know. And he told me that too. He said, "Yeah, I know." You know. It's terrible. That's how his brain works, you know. Wow. What if he had said, "I don't know," or "I don't think so"? Because he did have his feet out. I sort of walked around his feet from where I normally would have walked, and that's what the issue was. But, it's like, yeah, funny stuff. So I'm getting over a little bit, getting over that. People talking about scriptures when they haven't read enough, even they haven't read enough to really speak on it, but they speak anyway, and it drives me crazy. So I'm gonna just, um, I'll know for myself to beware of people's titles on their videos. They're not gonna bait me in with anything anymore. Just forget it. Do what you want to do. If you think it's up to the highest standards of humans and their position on this planet and how we should present ourselves in public, then you do you and I'll do me, and that's fine. There's some people that don't see a issue um, with certain things they do in their lives, and there's things that I wouldn't do makes us different. That's fine. But don't try and convince me that it's a healthy way to go in the world when this grandma knows better. You're just not going to convince me that something that leads people to hardships and broken relationships and different things in life is a healthy activity in life, that I'm wrong for pointing that out to the whole world. I do not care what people say. I'm going to stand with how I feel. And do I feel morally superior? As far as a family minded situation, you damn straight I do. And if you don't like it, take a hike. It's the way it is. So, what God wants to do with you or to you is your problem. I'm leading my life. I'm talking to the people that are like-minded, you know. It's like if you're in a group of people and there's certain people in a group that would sit down and watch porn together and God knows what else after all that. Have fun. Ew. Ew. I can't say it loud enough. Then there's ones that would probably leave the situation with me. Those are the ones I'm talking about. Those are the type of people I want to surround myself with. And if you do have those types of activities in your life and we encounter each other, I'm not going to put you down for it, but don't put me down because I don't want to hear about it. Isn't that simple? I mean, is somebody stupid enough to come up to me and keep trying to push me in the direction of their lewdness and acceptance of that lewdness in a family-minded world, regardless of what anybody thinks. This is not one big orgy. This is God's creation, and it wasn't meant for that. So you do you, and I'm gonna do me, and I'm gonna teach my thoughts, not yours. Thank you, God. So I hope that's clear enough. But when it starts to get into the point where people are going to twist the scriptures and take the scriptures that were twisted a clear 800 years after they were written to suit themselves in a monotheist society, putting down little girls that have been raped, you are making a pure enemy out of me, purely. You better try and pick on the other gender for a while, 'cause this one's coming after you etherically. You're never gonna live that down. You go try and convince somebody that's stupid and lacks moral integrity, not the one that does. You're barking up the wrong tree, pupper, you know? So that's why I was mad yesterday, because just there's no sense in it. If a person doesn't know, and people have told them over and over, even I've made videos with links like, here is the history. This is the documentation of this family. This is about this girl's life, and the difference between Miriam the hairdresser and Mary Magdalene is not the same person, but they mix them up and they don't care. They really don't fucking care at all, you know? Take two different stories and combine them and make them look like the little innocent girl had done something that is filthy, regardless of what people want. Now, am I against like prostitution? No, but I don't think that little girls should be trained in any kind of temple or synagogue, that it should be adult people making their own decision, not forming the minds of little people before they even have the choice to decide what they actually want for themselves. And don't tell me that being a sex worker would be part of the upbringing of a healthy adult. No, it's not. But other than that, I think there should be um, workers like that with health care and people taking care of themselves in a healthy manner, and that's between them and God. That's my opinion. It's just like I think that whether I smoke herb or not, I still think that drugs should be legalized. I mean, kids aren't going to get any more access to it because of that, but there'd be a lot more people not in the prison system because of that reason. I'm not saying that drug dealers should be legalized. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if people are caught with something and they're not dealing, that it should be handled differently. That's what I believe. And so that's my thoughts. And I haven't touched anything hard for decades and decades. Anything I talk about, like a half a hit of orange sunshine or some mescaline or something like that, which is natural, by the way, I even know how to make Mr. Natural. Yes, I do. It's in my head. Um, will I? No, but I would tell somebody if they wanted to know. But anyway, I'm not talking about things I did as an older adult. I'm talking about things I did when I was a younger adult, pre-children, you know? Oh, take it back. I did get a babysitter one time so I could do some mushrooms. So, yeah, anyway, long time ago. But, these things weren't like a daily thing or I didn't go to like great big parties or get to know, like, I didn't have a drug dealer hookup like people have and all this, it just, anyway, and like when people were around me doing cocaine and stuff, I had to kick people out of my house. I couldn't deal with this shit, you know. So don't get the wrong impression of what I'm talking about when I open my um, past and present it to you. It might not be what people really think, It's not like I was a party animal, ever. Even when I went out dancing or had drinks, I wasn't drinking alcohol at the time. I went many, many decades without anything to drink. I'd buy a Pepsi and it would sit there and get warm, you know. So I was just out having fun, trying to have a healthy type of fun. Trying. So I can only judge me, but when somebody brings in twisted scriptures and tries to correlate them with what's going on in the world now, yeah, that's going to piss me off, and I'm going to say something about it. So, anyway, how would you feel if you were related to, which I have had, little girls that have been abused, even choked to the point where they had troubles functioning in their life because of the severe abuse, and then have people say somebody like that was a whore. You'd be pissed too. If you've gone through things like I have gone through and heard shit like that out of people and knew the history and the actual words in the real text, you'd be pissed. And you would say something. I would hope you would say something. I would hope people would pick up the truth and start speaking that instead of the lies that suit their male genitalia. Calling a little girl a whore. Shame on you. You're nasty. People that are like that. You're gross. I don't care if you and your wife are both whores. You don't need to tell the world that. And you don't need to correlate your life with the gospel because it is not the same. It's not the same era. It's not the same time. Nothing. You need to read the book of Revelation again and see what's going on. my opinion. So, yeah, I did get my exercises done today, and it's amazing to me just with like water bottles, and we got these big like oh, like what are they, 5-gallon ones too, and I had to pull one of them out, and the other, just having that stuff sitting around, and my OCD is crazy. And this morning I had taken a lot of water out to fill up one of the, well, I have a heated tank for water for the cats, and so I was filling that up, and where I put my bucket, I store my bucket in this one cabinet, and I have another water bottle in there, um, one of them thermal insulated water things. They're called like a igloo type. I think it's 5-gallon thingy in there. So I set my water bucket in on top of that, and behind that I had a box. I don't know if you remember last week I told you that I ripped my laundry room apart looking for garbage bags, 'cause Doug kept buying them, and I'm like, "Don't buy any more. We have like a ton." And then he just needed one the other day, and I couldn't find any for the life of me. I ripped that room apart, which was okay because it gave me the opportunity to get some stuff outside that I wasn't using anymore. Put it, store it. And so I looked back there this morning. I'm putting the bucket back on top this other one I set it on. And I looked, here's a box full of like probably about a dozen packs of different types of garbage bags. Big ones, little ones, all kinds of ones, and there they are. I told Doug, you won't believe it. Look there. And he looked and he's like, at least we know we've got them. I said, yeah, at least we know where they are now, too. So, yeah, I knew I had stored them somewhere, but for the life of me, I just couldn't figure out where, you know. I'll talk a little bit more, but yeah, it does piss me off. It's not just for what I've been through, but for all women out there. If it was a man that was being depicted like that, and you knew it wasn't true, you would certainly say something. Or if you had a daughter, if you did not want that type of image to be passed on, that's untrue to the next generation. It's just like I told Doug yesterday. He was talking about forgiveness and um the people that are going to have to pay the piper, and the things for the demonistic people in this world that are going to have to face the music. And I told him forgiveness is not always necessary, and I am not going to teach the next generation that it is, that they turn the other cheek. No, I am not teaching my family that. That is what hurts a lot of people. That gets them in the mindset that anybody can do anything to you. And not only do you not have the right to say something because you'll be viewed as negative, but if you do say something, you're lesser than anybody else that wouldn't. I'm not passing that type of bullshit on to the next generation. I'm telling them, if somebody hurts you, try to walk away, try to forgive them. But if you can't, try and think of something more pleasant if you can. But when them thoughts come back in, don't beat yourself up for it. And by all means, say something about it. You don't have to turn the other cheek, and I would recommend not doing that. That's my thoughts, and that's what I'm going to teach people to protect them. I am not going to brainwash another generation of people to live in forgiveness of other people's sins. Don't judge, lest you be judged by the same measure, is what it is. Is your heart as light as a feather? Can you go up to the scales of justice that has a feather on it and put your heart on the other scale and judge your heart compared to that feather's weight? That's what it's all about. Has nothing to do whether or not I forgive somebody that did something heinous. People need to get this life straight so they don't ruin another generation with the brainwashing tactics of the dark cabal and the Zionist churches all working together like that. So, not doing it, and I'm not going to teach it. And anybody that does, you're a brainwashed twit that doesn't care enough about other people to pick up more literature and learn more about what you think you're teaching people. Wow. Glad you weren't my teacher. Seriously. No. Yeah. There is enough people out there. I mean, there is scholars that I'd rather listen to than people just that don't care to be a scholar. You don't care to be a scholar, but you want to teach the text. There's other books that go along with those texts for understanding, but you aren't going to pick them up and you don't care. Just going what was written almost 1,000 years after the original documents, and you're going with the changes of the Khazarians that are brainwashing and torturing and enslaving people, and you're a part of that, and you think that I'm not going to be angry. Telling women and little children that Mother Mary was a whore. Disgusting. That's so disgusting. That's horrible. That's why I like this song, Like a Stone. Let's see, who sings that? Audio Slave. The lyrics, um, the one part in the lyrics is reading in a book full of death, reading how we'll die alone. Guess what book that is? Bet you can't guess. Bet you don't know enough about that book to guess. Yeah. That's why a lot of people are turning back to paganism or polytheism because of the hypocritical nature of the so-called Christian church, the body, the bride of Christ. Ah, that's so cute. Got you bent over the right direction, doesn't he, gentlemen? And the reason I don't say ladies is because you don't know who Jesus is. You only know what you've been told, not what you've actually studied. It it isn't so much, it's the fact that the disciples, none of them were older than 17 and 18 years old. They ranged from 9 to 17, but they're depicted as older people. But people want to talk about these historical characters like they actually know what they're talking about. Like they know the lineage of that bloodline. Like they know what those texts say. No, you don't. I'm going to get this uploaded. I think I'm kind of over it. I just have to avoid people that I thought were my friend, but actually just bait me into their little, I just know there's certain channels where they can be like totally happy and things will be going okay, but they'll just say something that makes their life feel better. It isn't benefiting the rest of the people. And when that painful shit comes on, or when they're laying their woes on people, you know, and not in a constructive way. I mean, I'm sure I didn't really hurt anybody by telling you my power went out, something like that. But I'm not complaining about the gazillion things I have to do or on here abusing you after I get it done, you know. So you'll be listening to something and it's all pleasant, and then they'll say something like that, and it's like, I could have just slapped myself a few times and felt better than I did after watching that shit, you know? Any of you listen to these hokey, lazy scholars still preaching just the word, nothing else? They're going to confirm the Bible with the Bible. How the fuck can you do that if you don't know what's in a dictionary? If you don't know words, how can you speak them? How can you read them? Yeah, there was a word when I was upset the other day. I could not, for the life of me, think what it was. But, and it's still there, it could have been replaced with something else that wasn't so out there for the brain, if you know what I mean. That's where I try to, um, I'll give you examples of words, or I look words up. A lot of my videos used to be um, trying to show people the difference in words, like the difference between um, discernment and decipher. Sometimes discernment isn't the right word when you need to decipher something. And there's a big difference in both of those, and discernment is um, used inappropriately a lot of times when it should be decipher. And to decipher means to really go in depth and dissect it. But you just discern the scripture, you don't decipher it. Some people. So, anyway, I'm going to get this uploaded. I appreciate you joining me. Have a really beautiful weekend ahead. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for joining me. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA. Have a good night or day wherever you're at. And don't forget, go ahead and judge me by the same measure. Least I be judged by the same measure. Go for it. Try it. Peace.